Hello friends, welcome to Shauna Stitches. I'm Shauna and this is my crafty podcast where I talk about all the things that I've been working on lately. This is episode number 73 and today is May 30th, 2023. You can find me on different social media sites to include Instagram as Shauna Stitches and Ravelry as Shauna Stitches. Oh boy, I'm feeling very rusty. It's been a long time since I've recorded, almost 2 months. And today is May the 30th and it is 12:56 a.m. You heard that right, a.m. I'll get into life stuff because there's been a lot of it, but I will save most of it for later. But since you notice my weird recording time, you can be assured there is no daylight coming in through the window. I do have a ring light. We're just going with it because life is chaos lately, and I'm currently working graveyard shift, and I am attempting to keep that schedule even on my days off, which means we are also in a different location than normal. This will look very different and not at all like it did before, but we're actually in the room where I started recording. This is my old craft room. It's still my craft room, but it's now our guest room as well. So I'm sitting on the bed. It's not a great backdrop. Again, it is what it is. I could have a million reasons to have not recorded and just kept putting it off. Anyhow, I'll get into that later. I am wearing a worsted weight Ranunculus. Just finished this. It's one of my finished objects. And I believe I knit this because I know I purchased the pattern from the original version, which is a one size only pattern. I've knit this once before in a cotton linen blend. I believe it was the Knit Picks Cotton DK weight. And I love that for a summer top. And I really wanted another one. I love how this pattern fits. I love that it's roomy, but yet like not so oversized that it doesn't look good. Of course, I am just a one size person, so your outcome may vary, but I love it. It's such a fun knit, and honestly, what kept me from finishing this, what took so long that I didn't finish it early, was the sleeves. I was trying magic loop, and it's such a large circumference needle that I was getting big ladders. In fact, you can kind of see it blocked out mostly, but there is a pretty significant one right here. It doesn't look too bad on the camera though. And so then I ordered some Knit Pro Zing DPNs because I do love those for DPNs. And then those were just so heavy that like I couldn't do it. They're great in the smaller circumference, as in like millimeters, smaller millimeters, but once you get up to those large sizes, I don't have it in front of me. If I look this way, I have notes over here. I just don't have what needle size, but it's like a 10 millimeter, no, it's a US 10? I don't know. It's a very large needle. So then I resorted to kind of my go-to. I went to Joann's and I got the Clover bamboo needles. And I must say, for a inexpensive big box craft store needle, those are my favorite. I really enjoy the DPNs, and I have some of the fixed circulars. I like those as well. So in a pinch, that's what I go for, and it worked wonderfully. So I finished the sleeves. I really like this I-cord detail around the cuffs, and the rest is ribbing. So the neckline is ribbing and the bottom's ribbing. I can't really, like, there's no way for me to stand up. Let's see. Let's try this. There you go. You can see the whole thing. I definitely cannot turn around for you. Actually, I think I matched the pillows pretty well. I'm drinking water. And do you see how big this is? My husband got me this. He said for Dog Mother's Day, and I thought it was a vase, but apparently it's a mug. If I drank this much coffee, wow, I would have some energy. All right, so that is my first finished object, and also what I'm wearing. Let me resituate myself here. My next finished object are, I don't think I showed these. These are my April Desert Vista Dyeworks socks in the colorway Opals. And I do have two. I've mentioned many times that I'm doing the year-long Desert Vista Dyeworks knit along, where you have to use one skein of yarn every month, and each month that you do, you get discounts and enter to win prizes and such. So this is my first year participating, and I am enjoying it. I don't have anything else to say about that. They're very basic vanilla socks. All right, the next finished object that I have, this is from round 4 of Sock Madness. And the pattern is called Squaring Off by, I'm going to mess this up, Shuyi. I'm sure I said that wrong. It's spelled S-H-U-Y-I, Woo, W-U. And of course, you can see that this is a colorwork sock. It's also mosaic and stranded, a combination. My normal sock needles are of 2.25 millimeter, and these I used a 2.75 millimeter, and they fit. I do have two. They came out really great. I am really happy with these. I'll show you my floats. There's what the inside of the sock looks like. Lots of floats, and when you do your floats nice and loose like that and on a bigger needle, it makes it stretchy enough to put on. So I really enjoyed these. These got me to round 5 of Sock Madness. And let me show you those. Let's see, here we are. So round 5, or sorry, I should say round 6, right? No, round 5. Round 5 was the worst way. I believe I'm saying that right. Worst way socks. I don't have them written down because this is where I failed and quit. These socks are absolutely insane construction. Again, I used a 2.75 millimeter needle because that's what I've used before on colorwork socks, and these are all stranded, and I've always had success. So I don't know where these went wrong, but holy cow, did they go wrong. And I should say I am not the only one who had fit problems, so I don't think it was just a me thing, but these socks are insane. So this is my sock blocker. I just showed you my other socks on, and you can see that there's a lot of room here. I was actually thinking this was going to fit my husband. So I wear a US women's 9, and my husband wears a US men's 13 wide. And I think the only thing that wouldn't let him get it on was the cuff. I was like, I am not ripping it out. I also screwed up. These arrows here are supposed to have some stitches between. But this pattern was so difficult to understand. So many little details that didn't seem like they were put in the pattern where they would normally be, because I'm a pretty thorough pattern reader, but it's like, for example, I was doing the cuff, just a normal 1x1 rib cuff, although if I remember right, the cast on was something new, but anyway, I know how to do a 1x1 twisted, well, that's where it got me. So it says knit 1, purl 1 for how many ever rounds, and then kind of like as an afterthought, it says to knit through the back loop. So like I didn't even see that part. I don't know if I got through the entire cuff the first time, but I had to rip it all out, went back in, did twisted rib instead of plain rib. So to knit these, you knit in the direction the arrows go. So you see here the arrows are going down, so you knit to here, and then you put that on like waste yarn, and then you cast on the toe, and you knit the foot to here, and then you put these on hold, and you keep knitting here, because you see that's the way the arrows are going. I'm trying to remember, did we graft this? I think we grafted that, but maybe not. And then we knit this, and you can see the direction the arrows are going. So this was knit as like a circle, and then the heel's really weird. The heel is kind of like, that would be where the heel flap is, except for that's the bottom of the foot. Cool concept. I don't mind knitting top down or toe up, but this was too much. So anyway, once I realized they were way too big, I had actually knit the second leg and posted them, and somebody noticed that I didn't include because they didn't chart that. They didn't chart there was supposed to be, I can't remember how many, like a couple of rows of the green in between there. And I was just like, with it not fitting and that mistake, I'm sure that would have excluded me. So I just quit. I was like, I'm done. And, it was actually for the best, because I knew starting round six, anyway, we took a trip to Washington, D.C., which I'll talk about later. And I knew I was not going to have a lot of knitting time. So yeah, I'm very happy to have made it to round 5 this year for my first year of Sock Madness. I think that's pretty good. I definitely enjoyed it. Other than that last one that I showed you, even though it was a lot of new techniques and stuff, it was nothing that I felt was not doable or manageable. And even that one, I mean, it looks like a sock. I have no idea who would actually fit that sock. It's ginormous. It makes me think I probably could have knit those on a 2.25 millimeter. And I should say, I was getting gauge. That's what's even weirder. I was getting gauge. But I could have knit those on like a 2.25, but then I don't know if they would have gotten on. And yeah, they were a headache. So, all right, what was next? The next thing that I finished is my May Desert Vista Dyeworks project. And if you can't tell, this is a Musselburgh. Sorry, I always say that wrong. For us people from the United States, it looks like it should say Musselburgh, but it's not our kind of English word. It's like a UK English, I think. Anyway, so what you do for this, you knit a big long tube and fold it into each other. My goal was to use up all of this yarn, and I came really close, but I had forgotten to weigh how much it used for the increases. If you're unfamiliar with this hat, I feel like everyone knows, but you cast on it at one end, you do the increases, and then you knit straight for a certain amount, and then you do decreases and finish it off. I like mine to be a lot longer than what the pattern calls for. So I think I knit something like the adult medium stitch count, but for this I was going for the length of the adult extra large, I think it is, which 22 3/4 inches sticks in my head, and I was afraid I was going to run out of yarn, and so I didn't get it quite that long, but it's pretty long. So the reason I like it so long, a lot of times I have my hair in a bun, and I actually have a little room up here that I could have a bun, but I really like this folded over portion to cover my ears completely, because I get the worst earaches and headaches in the wind. So the more wind blockage I can get on my ears, the better. I absolutely love this. The colors are beautiful. Did I say that the color is called Cherry Blossom? It's Desert Vista Dyeworks Cherry Blossom. Okay, the next thing I finished, my hair's a mess, oh well, is, surprise, another Musselburgh hat. Musselburgh. I cast this on while we were in Washington, D.C. and knit it, and I think I finished it on the plane coming back. So you'll notice this yarn did some really neat pooling. I just love how it looks. So cool. This is a hat for my mom. She told me, I can't even remember what hat pattern I knit her before, but she was saying that whatever it wasn't really good for when it actually gets really cold. So now that it's summer, she will have a better hat. So this should be good for her for next winter. And this one, I was smart. I weighed the yarn after I did the increases. I think it was 8 grams if I remember right. So when I had 10 grams remaining, I started the decreases. I had just the smallest little ball left. So that is that. This is just a commercial yarn. It is Wool Match 100, and I don't have it written down, but the colorway was just a number. But yeah, it's like light purple, dark purple, and black. So was it you, Anna, from Zebra Yarns? I think she said purple zebra. Somebody said that. Anyway. All right. This is what happens when you don't podcast for 2 months. You have a lot of finished objects. The next finished object I have is an old port hat. This is a pattern by Andrea Mowry. And just this weekend, in fact, Memorial Day weekend, she's doing her yearly, I think this is the 6th year, she does a challenge to knit a hat over the long weekend. I was lucky and had the long weekend off, so why not? This is the size large. 2 colors of classic, what is it, Patons classic wool worsted. Jade is the green color, and the blue is called New Denim. So I don't know, I've had this pattern in my library for quite some time, but I was not drawn to the look of it. I think, quite honestly, it looks a little funny. These little faux ear flaps, when it's just flat like this and it's just laying there, it kind of reminds me of like Princess Leia's buns or Darth Vader's helmet or something. Like, I don't know. It just looks funny to me. So I wasn't too inclined to cast it on ever. I don't know why I bought the pattern, but I did. But then I just had that FOMO. I normally participate in her long weekend cowls that she does. Summer one is the hat and the fall one is socks. So I don't know, I just really wanted to do it, and I already owned the pattern and I already had the yarn in stash, so I was like, why not? So this is a hat for my husband. It's a size large and he's a Star Wars fan, so if it looks like Princess Leia or Darth Vader, then why not? But so you can see it's kind of big on me. You know, once it's on, I don't dislike it. So yeah. That being said, I knit this out of yarn that was completely not to pattern. This pattern calls for a sport weight and a DK weight, and if I didn't mention already, it's all brioche. So I think where you see the blue is supposed to be the sport weight because that is a liner on the inside, and the green was supposed to be DK. So I used 2 worsteds and the called for needle size, which was a 3.25 and a 3.5 millimeter. I had no idea how this was going to come out, but I seemed to be getting gauge, and it came out perfectly. I love it, and I love it so much that I cast one on for me, and this one is the medium size. And the gray color is Knit Picks Wool of the Andes worsted in Onyx Heather. And the multicolor is Patons Classic Wool Worsted in the color Harvest. So it is a variegated yarn. I started knitting the brim with the Onyx, and then I realized that I was gonna use this color for the color A, and so then I did half and half, and it doesn't matter because it's on the inside. So there is that, and having that sewn up liner means that my ears are covered, and this is going to be a fantastic hat when we get cold weather again, if it ever warms up. So yes, I have completely changed my mind on this pattern, although I still think it looks a bit funky when it's flat. I really like it, and I know it's going to get a lot of wear this winter. All right, so I think that is it for finished objects. I feel like that could have been a podcast in itself. But now we have some whips to go over, and I'm definitely not going to show you all of them. I have forgotten some of them, some intentionally, some unintentionally, but I have a lot, so let's see what we have. All right. The first one, which This one is so close to being a finished object. Oh, where's my other yarn? Here it is. So the first work in progress I have is the Fosette, which is a pattern by Devin, Ventre of Knitty McPurly. Give you a second to appreciate all that texture. It's beautiful. And I'm knitting the third size of this. It's intended to be a crop, and I've said it before, I will say it again, and I will say it again many times. I don't do cropped. I don't know if I have, I mean, I hear people say I'm long-waisted or short-waisted or whatever. I don't know if I have an exceptionally long torso for how tall I am, which is 5'10". I know I have very long legs for my height, but I feel like my upper body is long too. So this, I think the total body from the armpit here is supposed to be like 8 inches, and I am just now to 12 inches, and I will be adding the color work at the bottom. It has some similar color work as to what's in the top down here at the bottom, and then a ribbed hem. And these will just have a little bit of ribbing around the sleeves. So I think the color work portion at the bottom is maybe 12 more rows, and then the ribbing. So like, I'm so close. This will be finished this week, I think, although I have obligation knitting coming up. So if you didn't know, Devin is doing a knit along for this top, and it goes through the end of June. So my goal is to be finished by the end of June. My colors for this are all from Candy Skein Yarn, which is in Astoria, Oregon. That's my local yarn store. And I went there for local yarn store day, which was, I think that was in April. And I bought all my colors there because I knew I wanted to knit this. It is so much more enjoyable to go in with a plan of like, I'm looking for yarn for this project instead of like trying to just aimlessly look around, because then I would just buy random stuff. So the first color, these are all DK weight. This is Boysenberry Jam. This one is Rosewater. And the final color, which I am doing helical knitting, is Foil Wrapper. So these are all started as 100-gram skeins. Technically, if you do the crop version, you're supposed to only need 1 skein of each color, but because I knew I wanted the body longer, I got 2 of these, and that's a very good thing because I'm not sure how much yarn is left here, but it's not a ton, and I'm not done yet, so I would much rather have leftover yarn than play yarn chicken. So that's that. I'm very excited to almost have this done. Just tonight, actually, I decided to do a modification to this pattern. So the size 3, which is what I'm knitting, has a 39 and some fraction of an inch bust, so just over 39. And that's fine for up here for me, but because I'm making this longer, my hips and my stomach area are definitely wider than 39 inches, and I don't want something super tight. So what I've tried to do is to add some increases here. I increased up to the size 4, which was an extra 20 stitches. I think if I can hold this up correctly, you might be able to see where the increases are, or maybe not. So I just did 5 increase rows where I'm increasing on each side of the marker, the halfway points, and that added 20 stitches, which gets me up to the size 4, which is 43 and some fraction of an inch. So that should be pretty good for where I'm having this stop. I'll have it stop. It should just be about to my hip bone area. So once that is done, I will show that off. What next? You won't be too surprised by this. I have another Musselburgh hat on the needles. And this one I'm making out of some souvenir yarn that I got while I was in DC. I visited the local yarn store there called Looped and got these two colors. So it's a lace weight and a mohair, which is also a lace weight. So two lace weights held together. It's equaling about a fingering weight. I'm using the same stitch count and same needles as I normally do for my fingering weight Musselburghs. And I'm very excited for this. I really feel like adding mohair to a hat really increases the amount of wind that the hat can stop. I'm hoping that's the case. This was quite an indulgent project too. I went in there not really having a plan, and there were so many beautiful things, but they carry a lot of yarn lines that are quite expensive for what I am used to, and I have the budget for it, but I don't know, I have a hard time justifying spending a ton on yarn. So this is my very first skein of La Bien Amie, and it's the Helix. I wonder if I have the tag. It's a very interesting, yes I do. It is 75% Falkland and 25% Gotland. I feel like you just never see those kind of things. Like usually it would just say wool, or maybe it'll say merino, but to know like actually what kind of wool it is. And the color is called Peach Sweater, which I love this color. It's just like a dirty pink. Does that make sense? Like it's kind of gray, but it's kind of pink at the same time. I love it. And then the color of mohair that I got to go with it is, I don't know how to say that, Isair, something like that. And it's color 62. It doesn't have a name, but it's a peachy pink. And I think it's working up really well with this. This project has become my treadmill knitting lately because it's easy enough to work on while I am walking. So, and it's light too. Okay, what else? Oh, I'll show these briefly. I signed up for Super Sock World Championship. This is my first year of that as well. This is the start to the warm-up pattern. Or no, yeah, it's just a warm-up pattern called rattan socks. And I don't know that I'm going to finish these. In fact, I will probably rip these out. I was hoping to finish them. I'm not even sure what the finish date is. I know that the qualifier is starting June 1st, so I assume we had like kind of just up till then, which it's the 30th now of May, so the deadline might already be passed, but I was hoping to get my team 1 point. I don't even know that the points really matter because like I don't know that you win anything, so it's not like, oh my gosh, it's not like Sock Madness where you get eliminated. With Super Sock World Championship, like you can take a timeout, you can skip a pattern, you can participate, and my team is a team that is not super competitive, so it's very relaxed. And anyway, I'm not getting my team a point for this. I don't know why. It was hurting my hands. It has some cables in there that you can do without a cable needle. It's easy enough. I've done them before. In fact, I want to say it's the same texture or very similar as what's on the Zweig sweater by Caitlin Hunter. I think that's right. And I don't know why. I don't know if it's the yarn, which I've knit with this yarn plenty of times before, and I generally like it. It's the Ice Yarns Super Sock, I think. Yeah, Super Sock. No color name. I don't think they make this one anymore. This is actually some of my very oldest stash. When I first started knitting socks, I bought several colors of Ice Yarns. I like them. The issue is that they come in 4-packs, so you get 4 of each color, and I ordered several, so I'm still working my way through that. Hopefully there'll be some opportunities to work with some self-striping yarns. there really weren't any opportunities for that in Sock Madness. So it sounds like, from what people were saying, that the Super Sock World Championship might be easier, but that has yet to be seen. Okay, the last work in progress that I'm going to show you is getting quite large. Here we go. There it is. It's a shawl. I guess it's a shawl no matter how big it is, but my goal is to finish the entire second skein. This is a pattern called Neptune's Garten. I think it's a different language because they say garden with a T instead of garden, but I call it Lily Pond because that's what my yarn is inspired by. And it's one of those assigned pooling patterns. And each time you get to a color of your yarn, which for me it's the pink, I start the little flowery lily kind of stitch. And yeah, I really like how it's coming out. It's so interesting because you increase on each end, and so where the lilies end up on each row, it's just, it varies. And so sometimes you get like these large clumps, and then sometimes they're just kind of all alone. And I don't know, it's just so beautiful. I really love this. It's my first foray into assigned pooling knitting. Is that what it was? I know I said it already, but this yarn is yarn that I dyed myself. And not only did I dye one skein, I dyed two, and that's the second skein there. And it looks like from where my tail is on the back here, the second skein started around here. And I'm very happy to say, I don't think you can tell where that changed. And considering I am not a yarn dyer and I used food coloring to dye these, I think I've done pretty good. I don't recall how much yarn I have left. If I had to take a guess, I'd say that's somewhere around 30 to 40 grams. So once that's finished, I think it's going to just block out really beautifully. Like all my other shawls, I don't know that I will ever actually wear them, but I just really love it. It's so pretty. I have several more assigned pooling patterns in my Ravelry library, and I hope to knit those at some point. I just realized I almost forgot to announce the winner. If you'll recall, I will post the picture back in here again if I can find it. But on episode number 72, I did a little giveaway, and I said, how many socks are in the washing machine? And I posted the picture, and people were guessing. And so I said it's Price is Right rules, where you guess the number, but if you go over, so it's the closest without going over. So that being said, excuse me. Lisa of 72 Stitches guessed 72 socks in the washing machine, and she was the closest without going over. So Lisa, contact me and let me know what Ravelry pattern you would like. Any pattern, $10 or under. And there were a total of 93 socks in the washing machine, all hand knit socks. And you will notice if you go back and watch the episode, I said I had to double count because one sock is missing, right? It should be an even number. And when I recounted, it was still 93. And so I had gone back into the bedroom to look, like, did I drop one? Did it go under the bed? You know, where is this other sock? And then I remembered after the wash was already going that Glenn was being very sweet and vacuuming and decided to vacuum up one of my socks. And I think I've salvaged it. I watched it later. I wish I had it here to show you, but I'm not going to go in the bedroom and wake him up. So the sock survived mostly. It has one thread that got pulled like super long, but it doesn't seem to have affected anything else. I haven't worn them yet, but they seem like they're okay. If they aren't perfectly okay, I think they should be fixable. All right, so Lisa is the winner, but I'm going to give a runner-up prize. And the runner-up prize goes to Anna of Zebra Yarns because she guessed 94. And had that missing sock been there, she would have been spot on at 94 socks. So Anna, go ahead and message me. I will do any Ravelry pattern $9 or under. So Lisa gets one $10 or under, and I will get one for $9 and under as the runner-up. Thank you all so much for guessing. I really appreciate all of you commenting, chiming in. Also, I have to say that the majority of you must have thought that I'm more on the ball than I am, because you were guessing like 24 socks, 48 socks, and I'm like, oh my gosh, yeah, I haven't done sock laundry in a while. So, well, that is it for projects that I'm going to show. I have some others, but those are the big ones. I mentioned some things that are coming up. Of course, June 1st, I'll be casting on for my June Desert Vista Dyeworks socks, and that will be month 6. So when I complete that, I do believe I get a free skein of yarn is the bonus there, plus a coupon for some yarn from her. And of course, the qualifier for Super Sock World Championship starts June 1st also. So that's a lot. I have that Fosette top that I want to get done. And I work today. Today is technically Wednesday, so I work Wednesday into Thursday. I have some work stuff going on, so things are busy. I mentioned that we went to Washington, D.C., so we were there for, I think, 9 days, and I went for a work thing. We were there for National Police Week, and I've never been to Washington, D.C., so, oh my goodness, between organized events that we had, plus sightseeing, it was a whirlwind of a trip. It was great. I am not a city girl. Going there, I kind of had the idea that I wasn't going to like it very much. And if you've been to Oregon and you've been to Portland anytime recently, you'll know that it has really gone downhill. I used to really enjoy Portland, not so much anymore. And so I kind of felt like DC was going to be the same, and I could not have been more pleasantly surprised. It was beautiful. They have beautiful parks, all of the history that's there, the monuments. People were beyond friendly. Like, I was just blown away. I really have no experience being on the East Coast, and so for this West Coast girl, it was a bit intimidating, but I was, like I said, pleasantly surprised. I had such a good time. Very overwhelming. I got to a point where it's like, even though I can visually see things, like I just can't see any more things. I just cannot absorb it. I can't take it in. We went to the Washington Monument. We went to the Lincoln Memorial. Of course, the whole mall there. We saw the White House. I mean, just went to a couple Smithsonians. Just, it was a lot, and it was great. I think honestly, I could go there and spend 15 days there and be busy. The very first day, our full day there, we walked and we took the metro pretty much everywhere, and we walked 30,000 steps. I ended up giving myself blisters on the bottom of my feet, and that made the next couple days of walking a bit painful, but it was just so great. Like, the weather was great, although much warmer than I'm used to, but it was beautiful. It kind of rained one day. I forgot to add, we went to Arlington Cemetery, so that's kind of relevant considering that yesterday was Memorial Day, and saw the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier and the changing of the guard, and just experienced that whole thing. Like I said, the whole trip was just very overwhelming, very surreal. It's crazy to see things that you've seen, excuse me, on TV or in books, history, and see it right there in person. It's amazing. It's really cool. So I could see going back there at some point. It was the trip of a lifetime, and very thankful and blessed to have been able to go, because for the most part, my work paid for a lot of it. So that was really nice. And Glenn got to go. So that was also great. I went with another coworker and her family, and we really just had a good time. Other life stuff, I'm not even going to remember everything because it's been so much. I finished my 4-month-long class for work that I have been diligently working on since January, and it feels so good to be done with that. It's a leadership-based class called Ipsley, and I learned a lot of very good things there, but it's almost kind of like the more you learn about leadership, the more you think that you need to learn, or like you're not doing it right. And so it was hard. A lot of reading, a lot of personal self-improvement kind of stuff. And yes, I'm very glad it's over. It was definitely, I think, more work than my master's degree was. Not for the whole thing, but for the 4 months, like 4 months of my master's versus the 4 months of that, it was definitely more work. We wrote 5-page papers and did a lot of class discussion. And that's the one thing I'm going to miss the most, is having the opportunity to talk to colleagues from across the state who I don't work with, who work in different areas than I do. It's very interesting to hear their perspective, and also to know that we're all kind of going through the same things. And leadership is kind of, you run into the same issues no matter who you are, where you work, and the circumstances there. A large agency, small agency, we all have similar issues. So that's interesting, and it kind of stinks that I won't be getting together with them every month again. But in this day and age, we have digital ways of contacting each other, so it shouldn't be too bad. On top of that, I will insert a picture, but we got a new dog. So I was at work one day, and they showed me this little small Chihuahua mix and said that he had been found running around and kind of terrorizing some people. And I saw him, and he was so sweet, and I was like, how could this little guy terrorize anyone? And we do have a city kennel, but it's not the nicest, and it's definitely not the nicest as far as insulation. And so when it gets cold out, it's cold in there. And I offered to bring him home because he's just tiny. So I said, if the owner calls, let me know and I'll bring him back. And day 2, owner didn't call. Day 3, owner didn't call. And he'd been coming home with me every day and then coming back to work with me. And so finally they figured out who the owner was. They signed him over too much responsibility. And so we have a Chihuahua mix named Ollie. We guess that he's around 2 years old, and he is just as sweet as can be. The thing about Ollie is he either really likes you or really doesn't like you. For the most part, he seems to really like everyone, but he does not like our vet, and he probably has good reason for that. But he's very quick to draw his conclusions. He can see you from across the room, and if he doesn't like you, well, he'll growl at you. And for the most part, though, he seems to like everyone. He really likes me, and he really likes Glenn. So, and he gets along great with all of the other dogs. So, what else? I'm sure there's been other things. It's just been so much. And then, like I said at the intro, I am working nights now. It should just be a 4-month thing, but it might be longer than that. And one of the things that I did not do well the last time that I worked graveyard was, they say it's much healthier to keep a same schedule. So before, I would work a night shift, and if it was my Friday, my end of the week, I would stay up, and I'd be up for like a total of 30 hours. And as I've gotten older, I realized that my body is not handling that well. I get really bad restless leg. The more tired I get, the more that activates, and I get really bad cramps in my legs, which when I'm working day shift, I don't ever get that. But night shift, I'm having these things happen. And so ideally, this will be 4 months of having my life turned upside down. It's very difficult. I'm only about a week in, but of course, well, now it's 1:37 in the morning. Glenn is fast asleep, and here I am in this room. I'm hoping I'm not being too loud. Our house is not set up well for people on different schedules. Our master bedroom is right next to the living room, which is right next to the kitchen, and sound just carries. So I'm as far away as I can get behind a closed door, and I'm hoping that it's not bothering him. Excuse me. He hasn't yelled or anything or texted me, so I'm assuming it's okay. So yeah, I'm just trying to figure out how to work this into my life. It's going to be probably a very boring 4 months, but it should be a 4 months of getting a lot of knitting done, because there's only so much you can do in the middle of the night. I can't just run to the store and run errands or stuff like that. But that's where it gets difficult, is because you still have to go to some doctor's appointments or other appointments. I end up having court during the day, and they don't care that you just worked the night before. So it's a lot, but I am making the best of it, I think. I'm having a little bit of difficulty sleeping during the day some days, but other days I'm sleeping fine. So I do work tomorrow, which means I'm going to edit this and hopefully be done to start uploading before I go to bed, but no promises, because my goal is to be in bed between 3 and 4 in the morning today. I don't know if that will happen. Just a quick little aside. I know I did not post a State of the Stash for April. I'm also not recording that tonight, but I plan on doing a April and May recording together. So anyway, I think that's it. And thank you all so much for being here. I appreciate it. Any questions, comments, concerns, anything I didn't address that you still have questions about, leave me a comment down below, or feel free to DM me on either Ravelry or Instagram, which are both linked below. Again, thank you so much for being here and for putting up with my crazy recording schedule. It's going to be crazy for a while. All right, I'll talk to you later. Bye.